we're here with Bruce Gandy and Alex Gandy, and talking about their new solo piping competition. And thanks a lot for making the time, guys.
Pleasure.
Yeah, so tell us about the new competition.
Well, it started as an idea, just Dad and I kind of talking about ways to keep the charity at the forefront of people's minds, because it's easy for it not to be, you know? Like, I mean, I don't know any bagpipers who think it's a bad idea, but if you're not coming out with new content and generating buzz, then it's easy for it to kind of fall behind based on not being the freshest thing. So we wanted to run a competition, but do it slightly differently. There's been a lot of attention this year through the online competitions on PWRC and MSR, which very important, absolutely. But I think sometimes pipers have a habit of taking themselves in these contests very seriously. So we want to do something a little bit lighter for the end of 2020 and sort of leading into the new year.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, we've got a kind of a Canadian element to it, and then also a modern, very modern composition element to it as well.
Yes. So the competition, we're going to do it with two categories. We're going to have professional and then open amateur. And it's going to be a hornpipe and 2 jigs. The only rules around the tune selection is one of them must be written by a Canadian, and one tune must be written since the year 2000 or more recently, and third tune can be your choice. We're not being picky about whether the hornpipe's the new one or which jig is the Canadian written or whatever. It's, you get to choose that way, but we wanted it to have a bit of guidelines without being that, you know, oh, you need to go out and learn, you know, scarce efficient.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so you mentioned that the PWRC and MSR sort of format. Do you think we've been lacking a little bit of creativity so far when it comes to online solo competitions? Have we just kind of defaulted to trying to do what we're used to doing in in-person competitions a little too much?
I think it's quite good that we did that. I mean, I think we all have to remember, having organized really only one event, when we went to this new way of doing it, this online event, there was a lot of parameters on how do we call the player, how do the players submit, how do they record, all the how-tos. So I think it just became commonplace to stick with the March, the Strasbourg, all the PWRC events, and you got sort of habits. I remember in April, you know, after 2 weeks, the whole of North America was going crazy because we'd never been hit with something like this, and myself included, started opting to do little Facebook Live shows because we all felt like, oh, the world was ending at that time and we needed some Facebook, 40-minute shows. So there was some light music going on that way, but fun. But then as we got into some of these events happening by, April, May, I mean, I did 5 of them this year to keep myself going. And I enjoyed it. And plus I thought it was good to support the people that were actually trying to run one after I did our last mini gathering. I thought, oh, I'll try and support them. Keeps me going. And I think to have a lighter edge to a contest. I mean, it's not going to be, I hope it's not going to be all grace note counting and stuff. It's going to be, music and flair and fun and an instrument and nicely recorded. And, maybe we can put together some kind of an overall show. Mm-hmm. Number off my head with 10 of them, for instance. Maybe, it's a half hour of just introduce them and put them all up in a show for people to watch at the end. It would be kind of fun. And
yeah,
like Alex said, an idea to do something different to raise both awareness and some money for the charity to keep us going, as we enter, I think we're coming into our 10th year now.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You, I guess you're requesting a $10 donation as an entry fee, if you want to call it an entry fee, a donation to the Bruce Gandy Bagpipe Development Society. And it's a way, I guess, for the competition to raise money for that good cause. And you started that in 2011, I believe. Maybe talk about that and some of the things that the charity has been up to in the past 9 years.
Well, we started really small, as you know, just as an idea. And the first thing we really did was had a concert. And we've been planning to have another one since, where we had Alex and myself, the teacher, the student, and then the new one coming up. So we had kind of almost a family type of contest event, bit of dancing and stuff. We rented a place, and it was a great night. And it started to build money that night. The goal has always been to build the biggest trust we possibly can. Excuse me, to provide tuition scholarships and or more. But tuition scholarships was the main idea at the beginning, and we keep doing that. We launched a very big yard sale, we called it, a few years ago, and that did well. Everybody we knew, we just asked who had stuff that was worthy of selling, and got donations from lots of makers and publishers and everything like that. And we did really well raising some money for that. All new to Alex, myself, Beverly, and the rest of our staff, on how to really fundraise bigger. And so we've been sort of getting a little bigger as we go. I kind of like the idea of, quote, starting off in the mailroom and the fundraising thing, just getting the bits of money from people who really cared. And it's building up. We've asked people to sign on and have a membership now to the society, and with a monthly donation, and that's starting to kick off a little bit. We're going to do something to help that out as well very soon. And we launched quite an initiative with the passing of Abigail Cobra last year, my student, and many people wanted to get and help out. So we'll be giving some scholarships for sure in her name next year. And then we'll just keep building and expanding until, if we're really lucky, it starts to turn over enough scholarships on its own. But it's a lot of capital to do that.
Yeah, of course. So it sounds like things have been going well with the Development Society, and this will hopefully take things to another level. What about online competitions in general? They seem to be working quite well over this crazy time. Uh, it seems like every couple of weeks there's someone coming out with a new initiative. Do you see online solo competitions, especially, continuing if and when we eventually get out of the pandemic situation?
Yeah, I think so. Um, I mean, I teach a bit outside of my day job as well, and the students that I have, some of them have competed more this year than they would have had things been totally normal, because they were able to enter into clasp events and enter, the SPSL that just happened, a couple weeks ago, the Scottish Piping Society of London, um, U.S. Piping Foundation. There's being able to play from your living room while still maintaining a high standard. It's exciting for people, and they get to play against people they've never played against. They get to play for people they've never played for. So I don't think that this is just a novelty. I mean, I don't think you can replace hearing, 10 of the very best bagpipes in the world at the Glenfiddich and go to that, or when you hear people, the gold medal at Inverness, hearing that live, that's never going to be replaceable. But during the interim, I think this is a very good alternative, compared to things just shutting down and having there be no solo piping.
Hmm.
Because obviously bands are, unless you're in Australia or New Zealand, you can't really be doing much. So keeping solo piping going, I think, is really important, and these online contests have been critical to that.
Yeah, good stuff. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I believe the competition you're looking at staging it shortly into the new year. Is that right?
Yeah, we're hoping to get everybody on board right away. It's not just for Canadians. I mean, if you're a bagpiper and you feel like you want to be able to give back to the piping community, this is for you. when I was, I mean, the foundation's been around for 9 years now, so I was 23 when it started. I didn't, not that I'm old now, but you know, every year you get a bit more perspective, and I feel like more than ever, I have a responsibility to help give back. I've been on as vice president since the start, but more recently I've started to take it a little bit more seriously. I mean, I'm lucky. I've never had to worry about, you know, is my F sharp? You know, like I had a technician from the age of 10 helping out, plus, you know, my mom, grandfather, you know, like it's, I've been very, very fortunate to always have a high level of tuition available to me. So I want to try and make sure that others have that. So
You know, the coolest thing I heard this year when we talked about the Piping Foundation, it was, the stuff was still new. I thought this is a big event and you're going to let everybody play and they can play 14 times and anyone can do anything before they seal up. And I said, there's a lot of editing and stuff. And it was Mike Rogers who said, you know, Bruce, we can't run the gold medal, but we don't want to stop the Piping Foundation. So we want everybody to play their very best. And if you can do it in 2 recordings or 1 recording, fantastic. And if someone else takes 8, that's okay. At the end is going to get judged, and it's going to be, if you think of it, it's just different. Still piping, but it's different in the way you know it. And when he said that to me, it all sort of made sense. And then this event we're trying to do is different again. You know, we'll judge it somewhat competitively, but different than, you know, it's not going to be one judge calling it. It's going to be, we're looking at 7 or 8 or 9 people donating their time, because I think it will be a lot of fun for them, you know, and then we'll come up with, it'll just be a different type of event. So I would hope that people would be, I would play in it in a heartbeat if it wasn't my event.
It sounds like the kind of competition that you both wouldn't mind playing in yourselves, and that's often what it can drive things. And you know, Canadian composers have really made a mark. You know, you look at people like Rob McNeil and Neil Dickey and Bruce Gandy and Bill Livingston. You know, all and many more have all made a mark worldwide in the composing genres. Guys, thanks a lot for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And we'll look forward to hearing more about the Bruce Gandy Bagpipe Development Society solo competition coming up in January. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andrew.